Alright, so we're going to pick up where we left off. We have our jobs view, our index view, with some static content. So we're just going to swap that out. So if we go to jobs index view, you can see that this is the format of the dynamic content. This actually grabs the title, so I'm just going to basically, we want the for each to go, I'm just going to copy this or cut it, and then we want the for each to go after the UL tag, because we're going to repeat the list items. And we want the end for each to go under this list item, and then we can get rid of these ones. Okay, so let me just fix this indentation a little bit. This title, let me cut that, get rid of those, and then the title is going to go here. Alright, so we have our title. What else? We want the city and state. So right here we'll put the city, job, city, state. And where this is coming from is the jobs controller. So if I go back and go to controller, jobs, you can see in our index we're getting the jobs from the database using this find method. Okay, the description, goes to about here. Okay, that looks good. Now for the read more link, I want to use the, what is it? It's the HTML helper. So let me just actually get rid of all this and paste this in. Alright, so this is the format. We're going to echo this HTML link, and this is going to take a few parameters. The first will be the text that we want, which is going to be read more. The next is going to be the controller, so that's going to be jobs, and the action is going to be view, and then we want to throw in the ID. Okay, so we want to go to jobs slash view slash and then whatever the ID is of the job. Alright, so let's see what we have with this. Okay, so it's doing everything correctly. We just need to truncate this text. We don't want this much. We don't want our entire description to show on this page. All right, and we can fix that really easily. We can use the text helper to do that. So basically, we're going to say echo this text truncate, and we'll wrap this description. Oh. Alright, so we're going to wrap that, and that'll be the first parameter, is the text that you want to send out. Let's see, truncate job description. Alright, and the next parameter will be the number of words that you want. Hey guys, in this video we're going to make this 250, and then the last one, the last parameter is an options array. So I'm going to paste this in, and one of the options is the ellipsis, so basically what you want to show where your text ends. In this case we're just going to use 3 dots, and then exact we're going to have set to false, because if it's exact, it'll cut it even if it's the middle of a word, and we don't want that. So we just want it to finish the word and then cut off with the ellipsis. One other thing I wanted to do is have the date, which doesn't look like we have yet. So under the heading, I'm just going to paste this in. Now it's just a span, and we're going to use the time helper. All right, the time helper, the format function, which takes the first parameter is the format of the date you want to use, and then the actual date, which is coming from our job table in the database. Alright, so let's check that out. Alright, so that looks good. Let's see where the link brings us. Job find / job / view / to. So that's perfect. We just haven't created that method yet. Oh, actually, one thing we forgot, very important, is this the job type, which we just have a static full-time text. What we want to do is grab it from the database, but we want to get the name. I mean, if we just go to the jobs database, let's check it out. If we just go to the jobs database and we look at type ID, it's just a number. Alright, and of course we could just use what we've been doing and get it from just that table and say type ID like this, and if we reload, we just have a number, which is obviously unacceptable. We need to get the name from the type table, okay, which is, let's see, types. Okay, so we want to get the name. We also want to get the color so that it can, so the different types can have different colors. All right. So what we need to do is go back to the view, and we should be able to say, all right, so we want it from the types table. So we should be able to say type, and then the name, which I think is called name. Yep, name. Well, so we want to be able to say this. Okay, so we're in the job controller, we're using that object, but we want the type table and we want the name column. But if we save it and we go and refresh, we're getting an error here. Basically it's saying undefined index. And the reason is because we haven't created any kind of association with jobs and types. And with Cake, it's extremely easy to do. All we have to do is go to the model. Okay, so we want to go to model, and we actually haven't even created it yet. So we want to create a new file, and it's going to be the singular version of the object. So job.php. And let's see, PHP. We're going to say class job extends app model, and just like the controller, we're going to define a name. So public name is going to be job. Now we need to just create an association to the types table. Alright, so basically I'm going to say public belongs to, and that's going to be equal to an array, and then type. So basically a job has a type, so a job belongs to a type. Alright, this is just one type of association, and this should have a $sign. Alright, and we also have has many, things like that, which we might get into later, but this is just going to create an association for us. So if we save this, now you can see that it's getting the text from the types table. And we also want to get the color, All right, because if we switch one of these to a part-time, let's do that. So part-time has the ID of 2. So if we go back to jobs, and wait a minute, why aren't these showing? I thought we had more jobs than 2. Let me just check the controller. And okay, so we have the limit set to 2. That's why it's doing this. I'm going to set this to 10. At least we know that's working. Alright, there we go. Now you can see how the part-time is still green. We don't want that. We want that to be a dynamic color coming from the database. So what I'm going to do is go back to the view, which is index, and this says span class equals green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away the class and turn this into a style, so we can put CSS right in this file. Style, and it's going to have a background. Yeah, a background, and then we're going to echo out job type color. Alright, so if we save that, and now you can see the part-time is blue. Alright, so I want to move along here, and I want to create the browse function or method. Alright, so if we click on jobs/browse, the home page is going to list a set amount of jobs, but we want, for instance, when we search for a job, or we want to see from a certain category, we want it to go to the browse function. Okay, so let's go back to jobs controller, and we want to create the browse function or method, whatever you want to call it. So this will be browse method. You should probably comment things better than I have been. I just want to kind of, I need to cram a certain amount of content into these videos. So browse, and this is going to take a parameter called category, but I'm going to set it to null by default because we want to be able to we want to say job/browse/3, and that'll go to the category with the ID of 3, so it'll only show posts from that category. But we also want to have the option to just go to browse, so that's why I'm making this null by default. And we're going to do a lot of the same things as the index. We're going to use the find all again, just like this. So I'm going to just copy that. And we're also going to set the view. We're going to use the index view. Okay, there's no sense in creating a special view just for browse because it's the same exact format. Alright, so if we do have a category in the URL, if it is / whatever, we need to check for that. Alright, so I'm going to paste some stuff in here. Alright, so we're saying if the category is not null, so if there is a number for the category, then we're going to add this conditions array. Alright, and we're going to add the condition that the category ID is like whatever we pass in, which is this, which is going to go here. Alright, so it's just adding that condition to the query. And then here we're creating an options array, just like we did up here. We had the order and the limit, and here we're going to have the order and limit as well as the conditions. Alright, and I actually need to set the conditions array up here just to nothing. So init conditions array. Jesus, I can't spell today. Conditions equals array. Okay, so we're setting it to just an empty array right here. And then down here, if there is a category, then we're just going to add this condition to the category. I'm sorry, to the query. Right, so I just want to see where we're at with this now. I'm going to save this, click on Browse Jobs, and missing view. Actually, you know what? We are going to use a Browse view, because I also want to have the categories as a list like we did in the HTML template. So I apologize for saying that earlier, that we weren't going to do that. We actually need to. So I'm going to go to View, Jobs, and create a new file called browse.php. And as a starting point, I'm just going to copy the index because it's going to be very similar. Alright, and this should actually work now. Missing view. Oh, I named it PHP. It needs to be CTP. Rename CTP. Alright, so here's our browse page. And I just want to add in a condition here to check for jobs to make sure we have any, and if not, we want just a message or just a static paragraph. So I'm going to say PHP if jobs, and then down here, whoop, else, and if, and we'll just say sorry, no jobs available. Alright, and I also want a block of categories under our search element, which right now is being included inside of the view, I believe, inside the layout. So I'm going to paste this content in here. It's going to be a category block. It's going to go through the categories and then just display a link using the HTML helper that's going to go to, basically, it'll go to the browse / and then whatever the category ID. Okay, so we need to create this categories variable in the controller. So I'm going to go back to jobs controller, and inside of this browse method, I'm just going to paste this in. We're doing just a simple find all query, just like we did with jobs, except it's going to be categories. We're going to set some options so that we can set the order to the category name, and this is going to say this job category find. Now we can use this syntax, this job category, because in the model we specified, actually we didn't, we need to add category to this. Okay, because a job belongs to a category just like it belongs to a type. Alright, so very simple to associate different objects. And then we're just simply setting the variable categories which we're going to use, which we did just use right here. Alright, so let's see how that looks. Okay, so now we have our categories, and it looks like it's working. If we go to click on accounting and banking, that has the ID of 1, fashion and style 3, technology, we should get some results. Okay, so there's all of our jobs in technology. What else did we have? Construction. Alright, so this is working really nicely. Alright, so in the next video we're going to implement this search bar. Okay, so our search or filters, whatever you want to call them. So we will do that next.